Online compiler. Java का कोई
Guys, sit down. Okay, guys, we'll be starting now. Please pay attention. Okay, so how many of you attended the last class? Okay, that's quite a lot. That's great. If you by chance missed the last class, don't worry. There has not been significant progress on the C++ side. We basically introduced the course to you in the last class. So if you have not attended the last class, it's fine. But from now on, we expect regularity, right? Otherwise, we are going to miss topics. Hello. Yeah, am I audible at the back? Yeah. So today we are going to be starting with the absolute basics of C++. If someone has never programmed in their life, this class is for you, right? If you don't have VS Code installed right now and G++ is not working for you, it's fine. We are going to be coding in an online compiler for today, but that is an exception. From the next class, we expect you to come prepared with G++ and VS Code, okay? Cool. So this is a link to an online Zoom. Yeah. Yeah, just search program is online C++ compiler. Yeah. Those are different compilers. We'll be using MinGW. Clang and Clang for Mac. If you have a Mac.
The GCC Linux compiler will work.
Yeah. So you've downloaded. How have you downloaded?
WS.
Okay. Yeah. Linux will work. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Sorry? Yeah, clang, right? Yeah, that's fine. Hello, am I audible? Okay, so let's start with C++. So what according to you is a programming language? I'd like to hear your thoughts. What do you think does a programming language do? Here we're going to learn programming. Most of you must be in CS or want to be in CS are dualites. What do you think is programming? Like the absolute basics. What do you think is programming?
Telling a PC what to do.
Okay, that's a pretty good answer. Telling a PC what to do, we program it. Okay. Anybody else want to take a stab at it? Anything? Cool. Yeah, that's pretty much accurate. How we talk to a PC is through a programming language. It does not understand plain English, right? So we have to have a conversation with it, but for that to happen, it needs to understand us. And thus we have a proper syntax. So we have semantics and syntax in normal languages as well. If I speak gibberish, you won't understand anything. For the computer, English is gibberish, right? So we have to give it a proper structure, right? So how do we do that? So let's suppose, what do we? Yeah, so how do we go on about doing that? So what a program does is, we want the computer to do something for us. So we'll give it something, let's suppose we give it some input, right? We tell it to do something here and give us something in return, an output. I guess in daily life also that's how you talk. You talk to someone, they process something, they talk back, right? That's what a computer is going to be doing. I think second class में भी तुम लोगों ने जब computer, what is a computer पढ़ा होगा, this was the first diagram you guys would have seen, right? And this is what we're going to be starting off on. So what a programming language does is give structure to this flow, right? So we are going to be learning about some things like conciseness. So programming language, it allows us to express our common languages more concisely, maintainability, portability. So everybody will be, I am hoping at the end of this course, everybody will be able to write code to make something work. But it's much more important to make code that anybody else can read and understand as well, right? So a company is not going to hire you only on the basis that you wrote a code that works. It has to be so that everybody else in that organization, when looks at that code, they should also be able to understand what is going on, right? Because they are not a computer. So they can't just compile it and see, okay, haan, ye to chal raha hai. They should be able to see it and recognize, okay, haan, this looks correct and this should work, right? So how do we go on about doing that? Before everything else, let's start with our first C++ program. I'm going to explain you line by line what everything in this program does, so don't worry about that. Just type it in, let's see what comes as the output, okay? Just type it in your computer. Program? Okay, you want me to copy it? Is it visible now? So we have some hashtag include IO stream something. We have something int main, and with brackets. I don't know why. You will be getting to know why. We have STD, then there is 2 colons. Those are 2 colons. We have Cout, 2 angular brackets, which is less than, and you have hello world, right? So why hello world? It is usually one of the first programs you are asked to write when you are writing when you are learning your first programming language. So it's the standard. We'll be going with that. And return 0, I'll tell you what it does. Okay. So have you guys tried to run it? Did it run? Did it show an output in the terminal? So what output did it give? Hello world, right? Okay. So this program tells the computer to output something and it does. Let's see what's exactly happening under the hood right now in this program. The very first line is that hashtag include IOStream. What does hashtag include means? It means that I have stored some files somewhere else in my computer. Okay, its name is IOStream. I want to pull those files in and append it to my file. So see, I have not told it what Cout is, but it knows. How can a computer know what Cout is without me telling it what it is? So this hashtag include IOStream, basically when you have installed a compiler in your PC, you have installed these files with them. Okay, so once you have that IOStream, it plugs into your actual code. So when the computer reads it, it does not read hashtag include IOStream. It reads hashtag include IOStream and then actually goes ahead and appends the entire IOStream to your code. So पहले पूरा IOStream आएगा, फिर तुम्हारा code आएगा. So now it knows what Cout is. Okay, so hashtag include IOStream done. Now we're coming to main. Okay, so this is the most important function that we're going to learn. What is a function? I'll tell you more in detail. But what main does is it says, okay, I am the main function. You have to start from me. Any execution that starts in the entire program will start from main. So I'm the main. I'm saying, okay, start here. This is where I start, after the main. Okay, any doubts? Clear till here? Cool. So you have the main. It says, okay, std : Cout hello world. Let's see what std is first. So std is basically a namespace. Now I know these are heavy terms and you won't remember it, but we'll try and make a way to get rid of std as well. We will try to find a way. But what std does is, basically you have a Cout, which is a keyword, right? Okay, so you have Cout, which is a keyword. Now IOStream is a very big file. I told you, you append the IOStream to your code. It is a very big file. It does not know where to look for Cout within that IOStream. So we give it a namespace. Think of it as a subsection of IOStream. Okay, so we give it a namespace where it actually knows, okay, now I know this is the standard namespace, so I'll be searching in standard what is Cout. So how can it figure out what is Cout quickly? Because we've told it कि std में देखो, बाहर मत देखो. Okay, it looks at std, it says, okay, I found Cout. What Cout IOStream में who made C++ wrote Cout. So they wrote कि जब भी तुम्हें Cout दिखे, you print it into the terminal. So they have written that for us. And this is the classic syntax for Cout. Cout is always followed by 2 less thans. Okay, you can call them angular brackets if you want. Now we have the string here which we want to print. Now if you let us change this string for once. Okay, let's say we want to print just A. So it will basically run just that. Yeah. So it runs a string and gives you the output. But what if I get rid of these colons, the apostrophes? Well, it gave me an error. Why do you think it did that? So there are some, as I explained, there are some syntaxes related to C++. If you are Couting a string or a character, they have to be in apostrophes. We'll be going into detail on why this is and why and what types of data do we want to use these. Okay, so let's move forward with the slides. This was the basic introduction to Hello World and also about return 0. So this basically tells the main function कि हो गया तुम्हारा काम. Return 0 is the end. Okay, it returns 0 saying that it has ended successfully. So a 1, if I had returned 1, it would have said, okay, there is some error with your code. So if your code, let's suppose, is doing cout and cannot find cout, it will return something non-zero. 0 is successful, anything non-zero is not successful. Okay, let's move forward. Okay, so C++ tokens. What is a token? Anything that you see in this code, anything and everything, which is a singular chunk, is a token. For example, this hashtag includes token, IOString token, int token, main token, these brackets token. Everything, every singular thing which is in itself a whole is a token, right? So we have types of tokens now. So we have keywords, like we used an int here. What we are going to be learning what an int is, but this is a keyword type token which has a special meaning to the compiler. When I write in an int, it knows that okay, this is a specific thing that the compiler is looking out for on its own. We have identifiers, which are basically names of things that it is not looking out for on its own. So you can see cout, it does not understand on its own. Int it understands on its own. We had to give it the entire IO stream for it to understand cout. Right? Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to know कि हाँ cout क्या है, मुझे okay? Let's go for literals. So we did a hello world, that entire string, right? We did that entire string. These were all literals or constants. So now you have operators as well. Let's suppose, okay, don't worry about taking pictures of these guys. You'll be getting the entire slides in full, don't worry. Okay? So about operators, so whatever mathematical operators you have, like a plus b. So these are your operators, right? So an operator can work on two things. So for example, this is kind of a binary operator. Why do I call it binary? Do you know what binary means? Well, 0, 1, right? But in essence, it means two things. Basically, binary means 2. So 0, 1 is clear because 0 and 1 are basically have a total of 2 digits. We say decimal notation. So decimal is just 10, right? So you have 0 to 9 digits. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's decimal. So you're doing binary. Basically, I'm saying binary operator because it works on 2 operands. Okay, so it takes A and B. You would need A and B for a plus sign to make sense. Otherwise, just A plus or a plus B does not really make sense. Right? Now, if you have a minus, for example, minus can be a, like it is a binary operator here, but does also minus A make sense? It does kind of, right? It's a negative of A. So you need to be looking at how we are using operators as well. We'll be going into depth, don't worry about this. We have punctuations. Again, this int main here had a parenthesis. We'll be understanding what that means and white spaces. So we have a lot of white spaces here. Let us suppose this white space between return and 0. Why is this important? Can somebody tell me क्यों important है? अगर मैं return और 0 को साथ में लिख दूँ तो what is the problem?
Return is a different token.
Yeah, so return is a keyword and 0 is the value we are sending through that keyword. So if we don't put the white space there, it's just not going to recognize return 0. It will say return 0, I don't know what return 0 is. Because it reads it as a whole, right? It reads one token at a time. And that's why token is so important. Okay. Line by line we went through. Okay. About escape sequences. Okay, so this is pretty interesting. We have something known as escape sequences here. So we have, let us suppose we want you to see out your name, right? So you say, okay, see out / whatever your name is. And you say, okay, semicolon. Semicolon means ending of a line. Okay, so for every statement you would see, for every statement that you end, you have to write a semicolon here. Otherwise, it just won't work. Because for a C++ code to recognize that a statement has been ended, it needs to see a semicolon. So even if I wrote return 0 here, do you think it would have been fine or not? अगर मैं return 0 को semicolon के बाद लिख देता हूँ. Fine? So why do you think that is? Does it not recognize these enters that we have written, or like should it recognize or not? Yeah, so for C++, so this is something C++ specific. Python does not allow you to do this. So C++ में it does not really matter where you're coding as long as you are putting every statement के बाद a semicolon. So for that matter, I could have written this entire code in one line. Make sense? It does not really have to be spaced out like this, but otherwise you won't be able to read it properly. So that's why we have spaced it out. Okay, so that's just something you should know. Okay, about escape sequences. So you return your name here. Then I say, okay, see out your class. Let's suppose year. So you say your year 2024. I'm assuming most of you are 2024. So when you do this, try to do this in your computers. Tell me what the output is. We'll try to do this on our own. So did it execute? So okay, we got an output. We got Anvesh 2022 here, right? But I didn't want it that way. I wanted the 2022 to be below Anvesh. I don't want Anvesh 2022. I want Anvesh 202. No, now how do we do that? Right? Backslash n, exactly. So we have an escape sequence within this string. Within this string, if I put a backslash n, I now have something like Anvesh 202. Make sense? So backslash n here is an escape sequence. What are escape sequences? Basically, within a string, C++ has been programmed to recognize certain stuff. So backslash n, जब भी उसको backslash दिखता है, it goes on high alert mode. It's like, okay, escape sequence आ सकता है, escape sequence आ सकता है. Let's look what are the different types of escape sequences we have. So we have backslash b, backspace, backslash, we have another, okay. So we have backslash n for new line. The ones we're going to be using the most will be backslash n and backslash t. Backslash n is for a new line, it creates a new line. So we have the first line here and the second line here. And backslash t will leave a tab gap. Do you know what tabs are? Yeah, so it depends on how you specify it, but usually it's 4 or 8 places, okay? So the backslash n and backslash t basically allows you to do this. Now the question arises, okay, मैं अगर name के बाद backslash लिखता हूँ, what do you think happens here? Pretty standard question. See out, name, backslash. What do you think will happen? Okay, error. Well, let's try it out. It will print it
with the backslash.
with the backslash. Okay, let's see. Let's see what happens. It threw me an error. It says, okay, तुमने बोला backslash मारते हैं. वो देखने लग गया कि backslash के बाद क्या आएगा. And then I didn't give it anything. Then I told them, okay, नहीं, I don't have anything else in the string. So it said, what the hell, yaar? You told me backslash. I started looking and you didn't give me anything. So it gave me an error. So then the point comes, how do I print a backslash? Because if I genuinely wanted to print a backslash, I'm done. I wrote a backslash, it will just stop executing. Double backslash, exactly. So if I wrote a double backslash, then we will find an actual backslash. So Anvesh backslash 202. I remove the n backslash n, so it will no longer be on the second line, it will be on the same line. Make sense? What happens with 3 backslashes? Okay, question from our core. Can anybody guess?
Error. It will give an error after the double backslash.
It will become an error. Okay. Yeah. So why does this happen again?
Because after the double backslash,
Yeah. So first backslash did its work, got the second backslash. So second backslash को उसने backslash मान लिया. अभी third backslash again broke off. right? That's the problem. So computer, like everything has to make a logical sense to you as well. Like earlier, अगर मैं तुम्हें बोलता एक backslash चलता है, दो नहीं चलता, एक नहीं चलता, दो चलता है, तीन नहीं चलता, does not make any sense. Why would it not? But once you know the logic behind it, what a backslash does, it makes pretty much sense. कि अगर मैं एक और backslash लगाऊंगा तो क्या होगा यहाँ पे? Exactly. Let's see. Right? Now it makes sense. Okay. So these are some escape sequences. So return 0 again, as we discussed, tells you that okay, this is complete. Our code is now complete. Let us go to the code again. Now you have noticed something like this curly brackets here. What do you think this curly bracket does? Sorry? A block. Okay, someone said a block. Could you explain further? What's a block? Okay, a group of statements. So what do you think like, okay, this was a statement on its own, right? I could have put this here. Why do you think the return 0 was placed within this block?
Like a function.
हाँ.
जो main function है,
Yes.
that we have considered to be int. So we have to like end it with like returning 0.
Okay,
If
cool.
it would be void, we
हाँ.
don't need to return 0.
Cool. So he said कि int main है. So our block is ending here. We have to return 0 before our function ends. So basically, parenthesis, हाँ, it's correct. It's a block. But what a block is basically defined. Okay. So what defines a block for us is a set of parentheses which tells us where this particular function that I've written in front of it. So it says main, right? So this set of parentheses will tell us where the main function starts and where the main function ends. If I wrote more functions, then as I said, main will execute first. So main starts executing. Let us suppose I said, okay, यहाँ पे एक और function है, and I want to write something in that as well. So then that will start executing. And the fun thing about functions is I don't have to tell it कि यहाँ पे ही function डालना है. I can say, okay, your function is written somewhere else. And then you start executing that, you execute that, you come back to this. And then you start with the main function again. So we are going to learn about functions, stack calls and all, and how it all works, how one function can call another, and we'll be doing fun tricks with it, don't worry. Okay. Okay. So what do you think is a statement in C++? Like अभी तक मैंने काफी कुछ बोल दिया. What do you think? What according to you in this code is a statement?
Pretty loud, that particular line.
थोड़ा loudly. According to you, this is the statement?
No, the complete line.
Yeah, the complete line from here till here. I told you statements always ended with semicolons. Semicolons, right? So when you have a complete statement that makes sense to the compiler and the compiler can actually work with it. So if I just told the compiler Anvesh dash 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 dash, compiler can't do anything about it. But now when it has standard cout Anvesh dash 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 dash, it knows what to do. It knows कि okay Anvesh डालूंगा, backslash है, एक और backslash है, तो दो backslash print कर दूंगा. Okay, so ये gives this output. Then it moves into the execution of this. So it looks at the entire statement before doing anything. So statement has to be meaningful on its own. But this is an expression. It does not have to be meaningful on its own. It's just a part of a statement, right? Okay. Yeah, so not every statement here is an so let's go on with some expressions here. So you have 4 plus 2, x minus 1, the hello world backslash n. Everything here is an expression basically. Okay, operators, something interesting finally. So let's go ahead with operators. So what are the operators that you know already from math? Let's see. Okay, give me some examples of the operators you know already from math. प्लस माइनस मल्टीप्लाई और ये मल्टीप्लाई के उसमें कंफ्यूज मत हो जाना. इन कंप्यूटर यू डोंट हैव इनटू, सो यू हैव एस्टेरिक्स. ओके, हाँ, you have divide. Okay, cool. Anything else?
Percentage.
Sorry,
Percentage.
percentage. Okay, okay, percentage पता है आप लोगों को, बढ़िया. और हाँ, factorial. Okay, cool, factorial, but I don't think there is a way to use factorial here.
Increment,
Increment. Okay, we'll be going on with the and or order. Huh. So you have some types of operators with us. Okay, so we have mathematical operators which are mainly used, which are these operators basically, and these are basically used to calculate something, right? So if I give you an A and I give you a B and I tell you to do operations with this, you can. Now let's understand some nuances in C++ which are usually not in your normal math class. Okay, so A plus B will do the pretty standard job of adding A and B. We all know that. If it is A minus B, well, it will always be A minus B. No problem. A into B, no problem. What about A by B? Let's suppose I give you an A6 and I give you a B2. Now tell me what would be the output for A by B? 3. Okay, cool. What about 5?
2.
2 या 2.5 चलो कौन करते हैं 2 ओके 2.5 हाँ फिर ओके whoever thinks it depends on something else okay cool so you have a 5 here and a 2 here. If I say कि these are both, let us suppose point values which can have point values, right? Let's suppose this is 5.0 which can have a point value. We call them a double or let's suppose a float. So these are data types which allow us to have a point. Okay, these are data types which allow us to have a decimal value. Now we also have data types which are purely integers. So we have int or we have something like long. So these are data types which only stores purely integer values. So now if I tell you कि ठीक है मैंने तुम्हें दिया एक integer a5 and another integer b2. Now I say okay, integer. Now just see out me a divided by b. Now what do you think is the output? 2. Ha, because what my compiler does, it says okay 5 is an integer, 2 is an integer, and now it says a by b karunga and it finds 2.5. Now it says okay I'll just keep the relevant part because I can store a 0.5 in these integers. So I say okay 2. So if I stored something like int c and I said okay it is a by b, c would have a value of 2, right? Make sense? Now let's make it thorough interesting. Let's see if you can catch this. We have int a is equal to -5. बताओ क्या होगा? फिर चला के देखते हैं कौन सही है.
-3.
Okay, -3, -2. Anything else? -2.5. Anyone? No votes. int सबको समझ आ गया? Okay, let's try this out. Another thing you should notice, here I didn't put any string or apostrophes. Why did I do that? Because I was calling something that I had initialized earlier. We'll be learning about variables, initializing, defining everything. Okay, don't worry about this. I was just trying to prove a point here for those of you who said -3. Because a lot of you think that when you divide, it floors the value. It does not floor the value. As I said, it just takes the part that is necessary to it. So -5 divided by 2 would have been -2.5. अगर कोई बोले C में ये है, C can't see this 0.5. C can only store that -2. It has nothing to do with flooring a value. Okay? So that's pretty important. You should know this. Let's move on. Okay, now we have something new that you did not have in math. We have a modulo operator. This is one of the most important operators you'll be learning. Let's see what a modulo operator does. A modulo operator basically tells you what remainder does it leave when I divide A by B. So if I say A modulo B, what it does is, ठीक है, A मेरे पास 10, B है मेरे पास 4. Now when I divide A by B, what remainder does it leave? It leaves 2, right? So it will directly give me that output. Again the same thing, right? So A mod B gives me the remainder. Now if I tell you, okay, tell me if a number is divisible by 5. So can you tell me mod 5, what should be the mod 5 value of that number?
0.
Right? And so if I want you to check whether a number is of a specific type, like 5n plus 1 hai, or 5n plus 2 hai, you can always mod it by 5 and check the value. If it is 1, it is a number of the type 5n plus 1. Does it make sense what 5n plus 1 is? N is integers, so 5n plus 1 will be numbers which are divisible by 5 but leave 1 as a remainder, right? Okay, so those are your mathematical operators. These are pretty simple. Now you have logical operators. The most common thing that you're going to be learning if you take up any CS course in your 2-1, 2-2, 3-1, 3-2, anything, right? So the first, they always start with gates. What is AND, what is OR, and what is, okay, so on लिख दिया, ठीक है, so और पढ़ा देते हैं. So, what do you think does an AND gate do?
It checks if both of the statements return a particular value, and if the values are common, it returns that value.
Okay. So if I tell you, okay, I have two inputs here, A and B, and an output out. I tell you, okay, A is false, B is false. What do you think the output will be? What about 0 and 1? If 0. Okay. What about 1 and 0? 0. What about 1 and 1? So, in simple terms, AND is just checking if both the conditions I gave it is true. AND, right? If both the conditions are true, it moves forward. Otherwise, it just says no. Okay? Or cool. 1. Or just needs one thing from us, right? It just needs, okay, पहला कोई भी condition true हो जाए, I'm happy, right? बस and नहीं, and needs both the conditions to be true. Now let's do something interesting. Let's say we have something, a sort of a checker, which says, okay, I'm going to check if A is equal to B. I'll tell you what equal to is, don't worry. And if C is equal to D. And I have written here कि A, B, C, D के values क्या हैं? A is 1, B is 1, C is 2, D is 2. What do you think this returns as a whole?
Whether A is B.
So I have given you the values of A and B, A, B, C, D. A is 1, B is 1, C is 2 and D is 2. True. Yeah, so A is equal to B, right? 1 is equal to 1. What is equal to? So we have something known as 1 equal to and 2 equal to. Boy, it pretty much did not make sense to me back then when I was learning as well. But what it does is, अगर मेरे को बोलना हो A is equal to B, it basically means कि मैंने जैसे बोला था ना int A is equal to 5, मैंने 5 को जाके A में घुसा दिया, assign कर दिया. This is an assignment operator. It says, okay, B का value जो भी है वो A में डाल दो. A is equal to B. Right? But this is a comparison operator. It basically returns whether A is equal to B. There is a big difference. Okay, if you are not clear with this, please एक और बार बोल देता हूँ मैं. A is equal to B means मैं B का value A में डाल रहा हूँ. It's an assignment operator proper. मतलब B में अगर मैंने यहाँ पे 5 डाला होता, A का value यहाँ 1 है, then I say A is equal to B, A now becomes 5. Make sense? If I now say, okay, A is just equal to B, this will basically tell me क्या A equal to B है या नहीं. So this will say this is an expression. This is not a statement anymore. A is equal to B was a statement on its own. है ना? हमने B को A का value दे दिया. It's a statement. But A equal to B is not a statement. It does not. It just returns a value. It says, okay, A equal to B है, हाँ है. तो it will return 1. अगर नहीं होता it will return 0. Make sense? Cool. So and or हो गया. How many of you know what a XOR is? Okay, go on. 0 0.
1
Okay. 0 1.
0
Okay. 1 0.
0
0. Okay. 1 1.
0 0 1 1 0
कोई पहले ये लिख देता है. ये पूरा ही गलत है भाई तो it's 0 1 1 0. Okay. जिसने भी ये बोला, you got it absolutely wrong. This is 0. This is 1. This is 1. And this is again 0. Basically, a XOR checks if both the bits are different. What XOR is an exclusive OR. Exclusive OR मतलब मुझे और तो चाहिए. OR is what? OR includes अगर एक सही है या ये वाला सही है या दोनों सही है. But exclusive OR means it wants only those when only one is correct. Either 1 0 or a 0 1. It's an exclusive OR. Make sense? Yeah. So only these will be true and these will be false. Cool. These were your logical operators. Now moving to bitwise operators. We just I told you about bitwise operators. These were actually bitwise operators. Your logical operators actually do the function of your just like your bitwise operators. So you had an AND, right? And we use something like an AND here. We said if A is equal to B and C is equal to D. This is a logical operator. This and you could have also wrote an AND here. अगर मैं AND लिख देता वो भी चलता. So if I wrote an AND here or I wrote and that basically means okay, check this condition on your left, check that condition on your right. If both of them are true, return true, otherwise return false. और होता तो I would have written something like or या तो मैं और लिख देता या तो I would have written dash dash. So that is the syntax. अभी syntax का टेंशन मत लो, अभी बहुत टाइम है, सीख जाओगे धीरे धीरे. That is not a problem. Yeah, coming to my favorite topics, data types. So what do you think does a data type do? हमने A by B वाला example समझा, so you guys must have a pretty rough idea कि data type करता क्या है. But in general, what do you think it does?
Stores value.
Yeah, it stores values, right? But how does it store values? Let's go into detail. I told you something like int A is equal to 5. What does it do actually?
Integer value of 5 stored in A.
A, right? So what is A?
Variable.
A variable. Okay. So where is this variable stored?
Somewhere in the memory.
It shows
Yeah, go on. अरे कुछ भी बोलो, चलता है, बोलो.
Somewhere in the memory.
Somewhere in the memory. Okay, that's a pretty good answer actually. So we have int A is equal to 5. Let's break this down. We said int, okay? It understood something from this int. It said, okay, this is the data type of the value that is going to be coming to A. So int has a size. So everything in the computer is stored in memory, right? You know what a memory is. So let's make a memory. So these are memory spaces. You have, let's suppose 1800 is the address of this memory. We have 1801, 1802, 3, 4, 5, and we have like chunks of these memories, okay? So this is how a typical memory of a computer looks like. You have an address for every byte of memory. So how many of you know what a byte is? Cool. Let's do you know about bits at least? College में पढ़ रहे हो यार, bits तो पता होगा क्या होता है?
Yeah, पिलानी.
Okay. Bits is just 0 या 1 value, right? So when I say I have a byte, it means a composition of 8 bits. Okay, so let's suppose this on its whole is a byte. Okay, that makes sense. So 0 0 1 1 0 1 0 1 is a byte, and in memory we store bytes. This basically has 8 spaces within it to store 8 values. Think of it as switches. So we have 8 switches in one memory location. One memory location has 8 switches. We can either turn it on or off. So one memory location can tell me can have 8 switches, and we have multiple such memory locations. Okay. Now we have a is equal to 5. How does it actually is stored in memory is something I'd like to know. Okay. I'll tell you about int a little bit. Int is not something that stores it in 1 byte. Int uses 4 bytes of memory. Now you would say why 4 bytes? First of all, tell me how much is 4 bytes? How many bits? 32 bits, right? So int uses 32 of such bits. How does it store a value? Let's see. Let's forget about 32 bits for now. अगर मैं तुम्हें बोलता int just used 1 bit. Okay, it had 0 या 1 as an option, right? तो मैं कितने वैल्यू स्टोर कर पाता? मैं just 2 ही वैल्यू स्टोर कर पाता, 0 and 1. Now if I told you, okay, 2 options there. I could have 0 0, I could have 0 1, I could have 1 0, I could have 1 1. These are my 4 options if I had 2 bits. Make sense? Hannah? So all of these have different values. This is what? 0, 1, 2, 3. This is why we are so keen on you learning binary. Because these are just the binary conversions of these decimal numbers, right? So once you know their binary conversions, you can easily convert them into, right? Now if I tell you, okay, 4 है मेरे पास number, how many bits will that need? If I want to store a 4? 3 bits, because 4 will be 1, then 0, then 0, right? So, does everybody know how to convert from binary to decimal and back? If you don't, I'll have to explain it, and like I want you guys to know it. Should I skip it or should I go forward? Okay, I'll go forward and explain it. So when you have a binary number, let's suppose 1 0 1 0 1, what you do to convert it to a decimal number is pretty simple. You take the first digit from the right and you convert it you multiply it with 2 raised to 0. So what is 2 raised to 0? It's 1, right? So you multiply it with 2 raised to 0, that is 1. So you get 1 plus 2 raised to 1 से तुम इस number को multiply करोगे. So it's 0 to multiplying does not make sense. Now you'll multiply 2 raised to 2 with whatever here. So it's 1. 2 raised to 2 times 1 is 4. So I'll add 4. Now 2 raised to 3 times 0 is just 0, and 2 raised to 4 times 1 is 16. So I'll add 16. So my final number is 1 plus 4 plus 16. An easy way to remember this is, जब भी कोई binary लिखते तो just go forward like this. You say, okay, 1 है, ये 2 है, ये 4 है, ये 8 है, ये 16 है, ये 32 है. So we have a 32 plus an 8 plus a 2 and a 1. That's 43. Okay? So did you guys learn how to convert from binary to decimal?
Yeah.
Would you be able to convert it back? Is the question.
Yes.
Okay, कैसे करोगे?
Divided by the highest power. Divided by highest power, that is like smaller than the number itself.
Okay.
Then divide the remainder by the next power.
Yeah. So अगर मेरे पास 43 है, I'd say, okay, what is the highest power of 2 that goes to 40? So it's 32. That's okay. 32 तो होगा इसमें. बचा क्या? 11. 11 में highest power क्या होगा? 8. 3 में क्या होगा? 2. 1 में क्या होगा? है ना?
Okay.
Those will be the bits that will be turned. It's a pretty rough explanation, but I think that should work. Now, where were we? We were where कि अगर 2 bits हैं तो मैं कितने numbers represent कर सकता हूँ? I can represent 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1. For every bit, I have 2 choices. अगर permutations combination अच्छे से किया हुआ है advance में, so you remember कि 2 raised to n होता है इसका formula, right? If I have n bits, it can go up to 2 raised to n. So I have 2 raised to n different values. Since my values start from 0, what is my range? My range will be 0 to 2 raised to n minus 1.
Minus 1.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Or is it gibberish? Did it make sense?
Makes sense.
2 raised to n is my highest limit. I am going from 0, not starting from 1. That is why I am stuck at 2 raised to n minus 1. Okay? So, अगर मैं बोलूं अभी तुम्हारे पास 32 बिट है, now can you tell me what is the, if I have 32 bits here in total, my integer is a 32 bit number. Its range can go from 0 to where?
2 की power 32.
32
Minus 1.
Raised to 32
Minus 1.
minus 1.
Yep.
This is my range for an unsigned integer. Why did I say the word unsigned? Can you raise it?
We have not signed the variable.
Huh?
Like for storing the name of variable within the more storage.
Sorry?
Like
Yeah, go on, it's fine now.
Like for storing the name of the variable as well, we need some extra storage.
Not exactly. What it is कि basically मैं -5 इसमें स्टोर नहीं कर सकता अभी। इसके पास बस 0 से 2⁻31 -1 ही है कैपेसिटी। मैं नेगेटिव नंबर्स को कैसे स्टोर करूँ इसमें? I can't, right? So we need to figure out a way to how to store negative numbers in this as well. So that's why computer scientists found out a genius way to do that. What they said was, okay, you have 32 bits. Why use all the bits? Use the 31 bits you have here and leave the first one. The first one will tell you whether it is a positive number or a negative number. So if the first one is a 0, it says okay, positive number है, बहुत बढ़िया. 1 है तो negative number है. So now my range, so does my range suddenly increase or does it not? Is my question.
Decreases by
Are you sure it decreases?
it remains the same.
It remains the same, exactly. We can't magically get more memory from 32 bits. 32 bits is the storage that we have. If we change the meaning of something, it does not magically makes more memory for us, or even less for that matter. It will always stay the same, right? So we have the first bit, which will tell us what type of number this is. Now, some of you can say क्योंकि यहाँ पे अगर सारे zeros होते और यहाँ पे मैं 0 डालता, तो this would have been positive 0. Make sense? And okay, पहले तो अच्छा example लेते हैं. अगर 1 होता तो this would have been +1 और यहाँ पे अगर मैं 1 कर देता पहला bit तो this would have become -1. Make sense? But अगर यहाँ पे 0 होता तो now I have a problem. You have a positive 0 and a negative 0. And this we can't have in a programming language. This will a lot of things, right? हम लोग positive 0 को negative 0 से equate कर रहे हैं, वो हो नहीं रहा है. That will be a really bad problem. So what computer scientists did was they did not just use a simple 0-1 conversion. They did something known as the 2's complement. So your homework for tonight is to go and learn what a 2's complement is. If you don't understand it, we'll discuss it in the next class. But you should know what a 2's complement is. Okay? Cool. Let's go for. So now, let's suppose this is our normal range. So for a signed int, what does our range become? When I say a signed int मतलब पहला वाला जो हमारा normal int होता है, it is always a signed int. पहला वाला bit is reserved for negative या positive. So what does our range now become? I have 31 bits for capacity. So that becomes -2 to 2⁻31 -1, right? That makes sense? Now I have plus and minus. So I'm saying एक मेरा range है 0 to 2⁻31 -1 and I have -0 to -2⁻31 -1. Make sense? Now this is of course negative numbers, right? And -0 and 0 are repeating. So what we figured out a way is कि -2⁻31 से 2⁻31 -1 तक दे देते हैं. 2⁻31 -1 already था. I replace this -0 to this number, which -2⁻31 में नहीं कर पा रहा था. I know this might feel a little वो jumbled up, but basically what we get is -2⁻31 to 2⁻31 -1, and that's my final range of an int. 2⁻10 क्या होता है? 102. 2⁻30 क्या होगा? Into that, which is cubed, right? Roughly 10⁻9. So the int's range go from -2 into 10⁻9, roughly, very roughly, to 2 into 10⁻9. This is the capacity of an int. If I say I write int a is equal to something more, right? More than this, I write 15 digits, then it won't be able to store that because it does not have that much capacity. For that, we have something known as long. Now long is just an int, but the only added benefit is it's 64 bits rather than 32 bits. So automatically your range increases to -2⁻63 to 2⁻63 -1. It goes from 10⁻9 to 10⁻18. Right? So that's how basically data types work. Now you have something known as the char data type. A char data type stores a character. So if you want to store a particular character, let's suppose a char C is equal to A. So this character C, so C is the name of the variable here, and it stores the character A. So when I do a cout C, Is it going to print C or A? Right, but what if I do C out? What would be the output of this? So the point is, if you have an apostrophe here, the code is going to read it as a character, not a variable. But when you get rid of these, the code now reads C as a variable. It will try to find the address, which is C, and try to find what value is in C. So we are done with mostly, yeah. So a double basically allows you to have decimal values. Okay, so that is the work of int, char, double. And for bool it is just true and false values. So bool basically can be either true or false, 0 or 1. Okay. Yeah, these are variables. Okay, so int x is equal to 4 plus 2. You have 6. So now when I see out x by 3, it gives a value 2, right? And x into 2 will give a value 4. Sorry, 12. 6 into 2, right? Yeah, I guess we can go forward with the game. Yeah. You can run it.
So cool. We'll just start with the basic game.
Are you guys all registered into the WhatsApp group?
Yes.
Or see, the link is basically p.ib.fi / pfh.
What आएगा?
So I will just explain you the game. So there is it will generate a random number from 1 to 1000, okay, and you have to just basically try to guess what the number is in minimum number of tries. Cool. So you can check this, check the code from this link.
ये है क्या?
You need to run the code in your programmers or any other compiler.
What do we have?
So you need to copy the code and paste it into your programming code.
So let's just give it a try. You just run it.
इसमें paste करना है. कहाँ paste करेगा?
So okay, it is asking me to. Okay, so it has a random number. Okay, the program has a random number n, like here, which is between 1 and 1000. So now you have to try to guess what the number is in minimum number of tries. Okay, so what should my first number be? What should be my Okay, so the number that we guessed was way too big, and so what should be my second guess? So okay, it was way too small.
335.
बस guess कर रहा हूँ.
Let me just run it on my local machine.
साइड पे ही क्या आ रहा है?
Cool, then let's just give it a try again. 500. Okay, the number we guessed was way too big. Let's just again give up 250. Okay, so the number we guessed it was still way too big for 250. So what should be my next guess? The number is way too big still. 50. What should be my next guess? 62. It is still way too big. Then 40. So I guess when you how many of you know what's going on here? Like, what's the optimal strategy here?
Half again and again.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so yeah, we showed a similar
What are you saying?
question in our orientation also. So yeah, this is basically a basic binary search. Can someone tell me if my range is from 1 to 1000, what's the max number of tries I will take, even in the worst case scenario?
P dot.
Sure. In the worst case scenario. Okay, so like, okay, cool. Why 10? Any? 4. Cool. Yeah. Great. So yeah. So basically, at every point, we are basically having our range. So initially our range was 1 to 1000. Okay. So after my first, when I say 500, I know whether my answer will be between 1 to 500 or 500 to 1000. Okay, and similarly, I will just recursively just keep on doing this. So okay, cool. Another fun game, I guess. Any doubts? Like, how is it working? Why is it the most optimal solution?
How to get a random number?
Okay, so like there is a package like a this function basically gives you a random number. It's basically a pseudo random number, but it's good enough for us. So it just gives you a random number. So now see, how am I generating a random number between 1 and 1000? Okay, see, when you just do cout rand. Hello. So if I just do cout rand, if I just do it. Okay, if I just do cout n. So it will just give me a random number. It will just give me a random number from 1 to 189 or to the int max value. Okay. So like, how can I take that big number and just convert it to a number from 1 to 1000? So, and even then, it should be a random number. How can I do that? Did you understand the question? Any ideas? Yeah.
Every time your random number is same only.
No. Shouldn't be the case. I think it's because of the online compiler. If you just run it, yeah. So that's why we are telling you to install G++ in your local machine. The online compiler sometimes gives you many BTs. So if you just do this, this will. So in your local machine, it will give you a random number each time. So yeah. Again, my question: if it's giving you a random number from 1 to 189, okay. Let's say the random number range is 1 to 189, but I want a random number from 1 to 1000 only. How can I do that? Any clues? So like any operator that we recently studied, can you use that? Yeah. So see, what will happen is, let's say any number that you are getting, okay, it will be of the form 1000 k plus something, right? When my k can be from 0 to anything, to k is an integer and L is an integer, right? So what I can do is, if I'm generating a random number, so the probability of it having a remainder with 1000, like from 1 to 2 or 3, any number from 0 to 999, that will be the same. That's because it's a random number. So that's what I'm using here. When I do a modulus 1000, I'm basically guaranteeing myself I will get a number smaller than 1000 and it will be still a random number because the number that I get, it will have a modulus, it will have a remainder of with 1000 of like any 2 or 5 or 7, all will be equal. Cool. So yeah. Let's see. When I'm running it on my local machine, okay. I guess you have to compile it every time, and then if you're running, okay.
Practice what flow diagram.
Right. Okay. I don't know why it's not working. Let's just move to the next part of our. So okay, about inputs. So see, you saw that we know how to give an output, right? It's just basically cout n or my cout. So it just gives you an output. So like, what if I make a variable int? What if I make a variable int n? Okay, and now I want to fill the value of n with an input given by you. Okay, so how can I do that? So that's where Cn will come in this, and if I do this. So like, okay, it's asking, it's first waiting for me for an input in the terminal. Whatever input I give, it will just return me that output. So okay, so many times you will get confused between these brackets, like where is the smaller bracket used and where is the larger bracket used. So for a trick, you can just see this. Okay, for Cn, from where do I have to transfer the value? Let's say that Cn already has the value, right? And I just want to serve that value into n in my variable, right? So that's why my angular brackets are like this. And for cout, whatever value is in my n, it is in my variable, I just want to serve it into my output screen. So just for the input, there's a logic. And see, so what does the Cin does? So it there's something called as a stream. So like there is also IO stream, right? So see, basically whenever you are taking an input or giving an output using cout, you are using the default stream, which is your terminal. You can, and further down the course, you will see that you can also write to the files, like write to some files, even spreadsheets, I guess, with some libraries. So yeah, so using that you can change your stream. So by default, my stream is my terminal one, where I run the program. So yeah, any doubts here? So okay, so debugging. So now you are writing very simple programs, so like you won't see any problems in here. But as you write more complicated programs, or like even the first submission that you will ever do, you will run into problems. So like, what are some of the type of problems that you will run into? There are two types of errors mainly. One is called compile time error, and the second is runtime error. So what is compile time error? So basically, let's say, let me just use this. So let's say I forgot to use an semicolon after this. Okay. So it will. So see, whenever you are running something. So whenever you are running a C++ program, you are doing two steps. Okay. First, my first step is using this G++, using G++-O basic. Okay. So this is compiling my program. Okay. So when I missed a semicolon here, okay, it just gave me an error here, expected semicolon before return. Cool. So you should slowly start learning how to read these error messages, because they will help you out to debug your program. So now, okay, so because of this, I couldn't even compile my program. Okay. So but what if I do something like int a is equal to n by 0? What do you think? Will it let me compile my program?
Yes.
How many of you think yes? How many of you think no? Cool. So yeah, so it will let me compile the program, but it gives me a warning. Okay, so you can even after it gives you a warning, it will still compile your program. So warnings are basically because of the flags that I've already set up on my laptop. But if I run my program, it's just not working. it's not giving me any output. I gave C/10, but it didn't give me any output, and I just don't know why it's not working, right? So these type of errors are called runtime errors. These errors occur when you're running your program. Okay. So when can these type of error occur? So like when you're dividing by 0, like what I did here, or sometimes you are accessing memory that you are not supposed to do. Okay. So these type of errors are called runtime errors. So okay, so for the flow of control, so your program starts from the very top. Okay, usually it starts from the very top. It will see this. Okay, whatever this is hashtag include. It will include all the necessary libraries, and it will do using namespace HTTP, as so on. But one of the more like the motives of computing is you can do like the same like you can repeat your task many times, right? So like using like control flows, control structures, you can change the flow of your program. So like instead, let me just give you a good. So okay, so there are two type of conditions. There is an if statement. Let me just directly do it. Okay. So see, what are so there are two types of operators. Okay, one is called relational operator. Second is logical operator. So like these symbols that you have, greater than, smaller than, less than, equal to, all these are relational operators, and the he taught you and all, right? So those all are called logical operators. Just keep in mind when you have to do a logical and, you use double ampersand, not a single ampersand. A single ampersand does a bitwise, and we will learn about that soon. Okay, you have to use double ampersand always. So like okay, so what it does is, see, let's say I just take my n is equal to 5. I can change the flow of my program. If I say, okay, if my n is greater than 5, I will say see out a. Let me just say a, and else I will say. Cool. So here, so what do you think would be the output here? Name, right? Are you with me on this? You're understanding, right? I know it's a bit boring, this control structure. We will do something interesting soon. Cool. So yeah. So these are my basic if-else statements. I can use these to like change the control of my program. And so like okay, this is very boring. So like let's just practice a bit. Okay. Let me just my here. Just type in watermelon code courses. How many of you have made the code courses account? Okay, the rest of you can also like make your code courses account now. So and go to the code courses. Just type in Google. Just type in watermelon code courses. You will get this problem. Yeah, good. This problem. So just give this problem a read, and with everything that we have learned today, you can solve this problem. And let's just try to get a submission before the class ends.
You can submit another answer if you understand, right?
Yeah.
I've already verified to me, so I can just...
Yeah, you can submit multiple times. If you have any errors or syntax errors, or if you have any issues, you can just call the core members. Did everyone get the question? So okay, so I will just read it once. So one hot summer day, Pete and his friend Billy decided to buy a watermelon. They chose the vacation. Okay, so we have a watermelon which weighs W kilos. Okay, and then both of them are a big fan of even numbers, and they want to divide watermelon in such a way such that each of the two parts weigh even number of kilos. Okay. It's not necessary that both of the parts are equal. Just they have to divide the watermelon in two parts such that both of the parts are even numbers. And you have to just reply with a yes or a no whether it's possible or not. Okay. So you will take an input, okay, which is W, the weight of the watermelon, and you have to output. Can you cut this watermelon in two parts such that both of them are even? You can code in the online compiler itself, and you can compile the online compiler itself. And for submission, you can do you can click this button here, that is submit. Choose this GNU G++ 17 or 7.3.0 and just like copy just paste the code that you have written.
Yeah. Do we have to put a limit for 1 to 100? Do we have to put a limit for 1 to 100? Do we have to put a limit for 1 to 100?
No. You can assume that the input they will give is always correct.
if statement को तुम select लगा दो, if खत्म हो जाएगा, job is a part of it.
Has everyone at least created a CF account by now, a code process account by now? How many of you have any problems making a CF account? Encountering any issues?
Using namespace
ऊपर से इस पे रखने का
क्या मतलब है? This handle is currently
इट्स नॉट यूनिक बनाना पड़ेगा। साहब हम किसी और कोई और ऑलरेडी ले चुका है।
You're making many accounts from the same IP, right? So Codeforces is blocking this IP. So if you're not able to submit in Codeforces, it's fine. At least try to code it in. Okay, so if you're not able, so if you have already logged in, then you can submit it. But if you're trying to log in and it's not working, then it's fine. At least try to write the code. Okay, so while submitting, you can choose this language. How many have gotten it accepted?
Showing compilation error.
Okay, so did you run it in your online program first?
Yeah.
It was running fine there.
लैंग्वेज पर ऐसा है ना होता है तो सभी अगर कुछ हुआ तो भारत आपके साथ छोड़ा स्लाइड स्टार्टिंग पढ़ लेना है वो भी समझना है यूट्यूब पर सोफी का कोर्स है
So, how many of you got a like a compile time error? If it's a compilation time error, there must be something wrong with your syntax. Either if it was working in programs, it should work in Codeforces as well. You might have forgotten to include IOStream and all. So check that one. Also, if you have wrong answer on a test case, there must be something wrong with your logic. Check your logic once. It's a simple problem, but it has some nuance.
They're all except
So, first solution. Tell me, will any even number give me a correct answer?
Not except
तो क्या हुआ सब क्वेश्चन बाकी सारे कैसे मतलब अगर मेरा 10 भी है तो मैं इक्वली नहीं कर सकता तो वो 5 हो जाता है तो उसमें कैसे करूँगा क्योंकि अगर मेरे पास कोई भी इवन नंबर है आई कैन टेक 1 as 2 and then even when I subtract 2 from it it's still an even number, right? So that will give me an answer, right answer. And I cannot do it for n equal to 2 because then one of them won't get any automatically. So this is the program that I submitted. So basically I have just declared a variable first, that is a weight. I have taken the input, okay, and then I have checked whether if my weight is an even number. See, I have done weight percent 2. If it's an even number, it will give me a 0. So if my weight is an even number and my weight is not equal to 2, then I will say C out yes, else I will just say C out no. So how many of you could figure out the logic for this? Okay, a good number of people. That's great. So yeah, I will add this code also in the slides somewhere. And for compiling, when you're submitting, make sure you are using GNU G++. While compiling, make sure you are using GNU G++ and not GCC. Okay? So,
If you have any further doubts, we are always open on the WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
You can just shoot it in the WhatsApp group, we'll respond very quickly.
any other doubts?
What shared with you just this cutoff, which has the steps now it has all the steps share it again on the WhatsApp.
Okay, so there is another task right now.
Yeah, for everyone who's facing a compiler error, like installing, we'll be sharing a video for, like to how to install G++ and the compiler on your system. So, you know, for now you all can take light. The video will be shared soon.
क्या ही कर सकते
सबको चार्ज पे लगाऊंगा तो 9 बजे खा सकता है 9 बजे खा लेता मैं हमेशा आपको 15 मिनट में खा रहा हूँ आज मैं जल्दी खा लेता हूँ
If n% मतलब n should be divisible by 2 n% to equal to 0 मतलब रिमाइंडर 0 है n ऐसा लो कि 2 से डिवाइड करने पे रिमाइंडर 0 आए तो प्रिंट कर दीजिए अगर रिमाइंडर नहीं तो स्पेस देखिए
Only one. I have tried to read my I think they have concluded their I guess. Maybe I would get it back. 2 days back, I give maybe I got to back. Chances are no space in my laptop. No GBs there. 7. That won't help. I need to delete something. Charge for this.